What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, J Mill. J Mill, if you like. So let's get into it. So the Cowboys get a totally fun win against the Washington Commanders today. The game was two different types of games, right? So in the first half, you had a low-scoring defensive battle full of tons of miscues. More special teams miscues than I can ever remember seeing in a game. I mean, Brandon Aubrey has a kick blocked. He misses a field goal. The Commanders block a punt. So it was just kind of all over the place. The Commanders missed a field goal of their own later on in the game, as well as in the first half. They had a ball go off of their kickers, kind of like his shin, ankle shin area. He kind of slipped on his plant foot, or maybe it looked like he kind of got thrown off by the bad snap. Terrible kick. And the Cowboys going to the half with the game 3-3 in a game that they really should have been ahead, let's say 6-3, because you can't really account for the block. I mean, other people can make plays too. I know I heard the announcers going, "Oh, if their special teams was perfect, they'd be ahead 9-3," and that is true. But the other team gets paid too, so those guys are going to come through. They're going to block kicks. They're going to have special plays designed. I mean, the special teams coordinator for the Commanders obviously had quite a few things drummed up that he must have seen on video today between the block field goal and the block punt. The block punt was a great design. You had two defensive tackles double teaming the long snapper, and I don't know if you see the Cowboys long snapper, but he's a pretty light guy. So if you got Deron Payne, and I can't remember who the other defensive tackle was, but the other defensive tackle lined up on him, and they double team him and push him back into the kick. I mean, I don't know if there's much that the long snapper himself could have done. I actually think he didn't do a bad job, considering he probably had about 650 pounds of beef all over him, pushing him back into the kicker, and it worked out for the Commanders. So that ended up being a pretty great first half, defensively for both teams, but especially the Cowboys, considering what we've seen from them this year. Then the third quarter came. The Washington Commanders go right down. They get a score, and their field goal kicker misses the field goal. They make it 9-3, and it looks like the Cowboys are about to have the same situation that they've had over the course of pretty much this entire season, because the third quarter has been the worst quarter for the Dallas Cowboys. But lo and behold, Cooper Rush takes them down. Cowboys score again to go up 10-9, and then we have just a bonkers fourth quarter. I mean, this was very entertaining. If you're a fan of football, you got pretty much a little bit of everything this game. You got good special teams, you got bad special teams, you got low scoring, you got high scoring, you got drama at the end. It was a little bit of everything. Kick returns for touchdowns multiple times. It just was all over the place. It was an exciting game today for the Cowboys, and even more exciting that they were able to pull out the win. I do know that there's a few people upset because they want the Cowboys to have the best draft pick that they can possibly have, and getting a win today, they feel like that kind of sucks because now the Cowboys made their draft position just a little bit worse. But honestly, dude, these guys are all professionals. They're all out there trying to win every single week. And it's hard to keep a team playing hard if you're just going out there and doing the things your coach says, and you want to feel like as the head coach you're giving the right message, and you want to feel like as the players your coach is giving you the game plan to win, and each week you just keep coming up short. Something keeps happening every single time. It was nice to see them pull one out. I'm one of those people that I'm like, win as many games as you can. You don't want to build a culture of losing. You don't want to build a culture of trying to lose. I don't care, if this is the last win for the Cowboys this year, which I don't think it is, but I don't care if it was the last one for the Cowboys this year. You want to go out, you want to try to win football games, and in a season full of lows, this is one of the few highs that we'll have to look back on, in the 2024 season. So it also looks like the Cowboys and the Commanders played a pretty solid game, both of these guys. So the Commanders had as many first downs as the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys had 19, Commanders had 19, 12 first downs through the air for the Cowboys, 11 first downs through the air for the Commanders. And then Cowboys got the benefit of some penalties here. 4 first downs via penalty, 3 rushing first downs. Commanders had no first downs via penalty and 8 rushing first downs. So they were both kind of very inefficient on third down. Cowboys 2 of 11, Commanders 4 of 12. Fourth down, nobody ever went for it. 67 plays to 61. So the Commanders ran a few more plays than the Cowboys. Outgained them 412 to 332. So it's about 80, 90 yards of 80 yards of the Commanders' yards advantage. But Commanders had 16 drives. Cowboys had 15 yards per play for Commanders. 6. Cowboys 5.5. Passing was pretty even, 241 for Dallas to 261 for the Commanders, and a lot of that 261 came on that long touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin towards the end of the game, which I don't know what the Cowboys are doing. They rushed 2, maybe 3 guys, so they had 8 to 9 guys in coverage on that play, and nobody thought to tackle McLaurin. If they tackle McLaurin at any point during that run, the game is over. The game is over. There's no way the Commanders can get up to the line of scrimmage, get the ball spiked, and get a playoff in enough time. So all they had to do was tackle McLaurin. And for some reason, the Cowboys, who had been tackling well for pretty much most of the day, forgot how to tackle for one play. And that just makes the game that more exciting, because then you get the Commanders lining up for the onside kick. They kick that up the middle. And then our guy, Wanye Thomas, scoops it up, takes it for a touchdown. He probably should have went down, at like the 5-yard line, kind of just slid down, and then we could have came out and kneeled the ball, game would be over. But ball gets back to the Commanders, and we have to sweat it out one more time. We already saw what they did to the Chicago Bears on a Hail Mary. So, it's kind of looking like, oh my God, are they going to do the same thing to us? Thankfully, that didn't happen. Cowboys, close it out, win the game. So as far as rushing yards, Rico Dowdle, man, I like the day he had. The Cowboys all together rushed for about 90 yards. I think it was 91 exactly on 28 attempts. But Rico Dowdle went for 86 yards on 19 attempts at 4.5 yards a carry. And his long was only 9 yards, which means he was consistently getting 4, 5, 6 yards. Now, I didn't go too deep into the run game when we broke it down yesterday, as far as the Cowboys' chances to win the game and kind of what they would do in the running game and in the passing game. But it was nice to see Rico Dowdle kind of get the lion's share of the carries. I kind of only remember one Zeke carry. It says he had 3 here. I only remember one, and he got walloped on it. I think he made a nice little spin move inside off of one guy, and then, made that guy miss. And then he went up the middle and just got cracked. And it was like a 4-yard gain. But, it was nice to see Rico Dowdle doing his thing. CeeDee Lamb, 10 catches in this game. He didn't get loose for any big plays. As a matter of fact, his biggest play of the game, which was a 23-yard pass, that got called back because of Tyler Guyton being lined up illegally, which made it an illegal formation. He wasn't covering up the center, and by covering up the center, he has to have at least his head at his waist. And he was lined up further in the backfield than that. I mean, his left foot was about 2 or 3 yards deep in the backfield. Referees are going to call that all the time, especially since they've been trained to look for that more this season. That's been one of the points of emphasis of the officials, and we saw it rear its ugly head. It happened to the Commanders as well, so it wasn't like it was just one-sided and they were only doing it to Dallas. You've seen this across the league, and I know Guyton's seen this, but Guyton, man, today, it kind of worried me a little bit, because he had about 4, maybe 5 penalties. He had a couple of false starts. He had a holding call, which was kind of bogus. The guy lost his footing and went to the ground, and Guyton just kind of landed on top of him, and then Guyton did his patented, I'm going to throw my hands up like I didn't do anything, which always gets the ref's attention. They're like, well, that guy just went to the ground. You're throwing your hands up. It looked kind of awkward. We think you did something. So Guyton's got to kind of, at this point, it's too late in the season to change that, but during the offseason, that's one of the things that he has to work on in his game, just trying to making sure he cleans some of his handwork up, because that was his knock coming out of college, and we're seeing it. His other knock was getting his head out in front of his shoulders, and his shoulders out in front of his knees and feet, and you see that a lot as well, which is why he always ends up with a lot of holding penalties, because he's really off balance, and it's his own doing, right? It's his posture, it's the way he's lining up, it's technique based, which is great, right? Because if it's technique based, that means that's something that we can coach, that's something that we can correct. If it was physically based, right? If he was just getting beat because he wasn't good enough, he was placing his hands correctly, but they weren't strong enough. He was, balanced correctly, but the guy was just using speed to power just to beat him up. If it was those types of things, those would worry me more, because then it's like your natural ability isn't good enough to be here, even if you do all the technique things correctly. But there are times where you see Guyton do the technique things correctly, plus his natural size, and it looks good. So I know people are going to be crunching on him all weekend and all week, and especially since they can't crunch on their normal guy like Mozzie Smith, who actually played a really good game today. He was physical. There were a couple of times where he's commanding double teams. There were a couple of times where he's getting upfield. There were times where they gave other guys credit for the tackle, but Mozzie Smith was right in there on the tackle as well. So you can't get on that guy, so they're going to find somebody else to pick on. Expect it to be Tyler Guyton this week because of the penalties, but don't lose hope. He's not terrible. Regardless of what people say to you, there are certain things that he's doing that are wrong, but that's what you expect from a first-year player in the NFL. And to be quite honest, a first-year player who we all knew, or at least I knew, and I'm pretty sure you guys knew too, was quite raw, right? You knew the learning curve would be steep for Tyler Guyton. I remember after the draft happened, a lot of people talked about which one of the linemen would be ready first, Tyler Guyton or Cooper Beebe. And the general consensus was Cooper Beebe was ready to play right away, but Tyler Guyton would take some time. Speaking of Cooper Beebe, sucked today to see him get a bad snap. He kind of snapped it over Cooper Rush's head. He hasn't had a lot of bad snaps this season, so I won't give him too much grief on that, but hopefully that gets all cleaned up as we go. Speaking of Cooper Rush, shout outs to him. It looks like each week he's getting better. He's getting more comfortable. He looks more decisive. And none better than that play to Jalen Tolbert in the end zone, later on in the game when the Cowboys needed to go down and kind of give themselves some cushion against the Commanders. They were able to do so, extend the game to 20-9. At that point, I thought the Cowboys were pretty much going to run away with this thing because the Commanders' offense wasn't getting anything going this entire time. And, the Cowboys' defense had gotten a stop. Got a field goal, got a 13-9, got a stop again, got a touchdown, made it 20-9. So I thought the Cowboys, hey, we're going to go out here and get a stop again. I didn't necessarily expect them to go down and score a touchdown. Thought maybe they might go put a field goal down, but touchdowns were plenty, left to go in the game, basically, for both teams, honestly. I did like what I saw in the running game. I did like what I saw from Cooper Rush in the passing game. I also like what I saw from the young offensive linemen starting in place of your veterans. So, I thought Awesome Richards played very well when he came in for Tyler Guyton. That's something that the Cowboys probably need to look at a little bit. I also thought TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman played a pretty clean game. Cooper Rush was not under a lot of duress this game, and that's saying something. Considering that he dropped back to throw the ball 28 times. Actually, I'm sorry, not 28 times. He dropped back to throw the ball 32 times in this game. And it was good to see the offensive line, for the most part, keep them clean. Frankie Louisville did what I talked about when I talked about, hey, you can't let Frankie Louisville ruin a game. You can't let Dante Fowler ruin a game. You can't let Dorrance Armstrong ruin a game. Frankie Louisville played awesome, especially in the first half. Looked like the Cowboys did a much better job in the second half accounting for him, but he must have had about 4 passes defensed in that first half, and 2 or 3 of them were at the line of scrimmage. So, it was nice to see that we actually went in, made some adjustments, and then those adjustments actually translated to on-field success. So hopefully these are the start of positive things that we can see going forward for the Cowboys. So my star up, star down, I want to give star up to, actually let's start with the star down. Let's end with the positive. So my star down, Tyler Guyton, of course. He had a very sloppy game, a lot of bad penalties. And honestly, I'm glad the coaching staff didn't just stay the course as they have been. They pulled them out. And honestly, like I said, I still believe in Tyler Guyton for the future. I believe he has a lot of things that he can clean up that'll work out well. But it was nice to see some accountability, right? Because you want those players to know, hey, if you don't perform well, we'll pull you out and we'll put a guy in who can do the job, all right? So now when Tyler Guyton goes to practice this week, hopefully he's a little more clear in his head, sound in his head, a little more sound in his technique, because he knows, hey, if not, this is the NFL. There's somebody there that will replace me, not just have the owner, general manager protecting him because they invested a first-round pick in him. My star up also goes to Eric Kendricks. He had a fumble recovery. He was all over the field today with plenty of tackles. He looked really, really good. as far as controlling the defense, getting everybody lined up correctly, diagnosing, and then running through to make the plays. And then my other star up, man, has got to be Butler. It's got to be Butler. I mean, I know I could have took more people from the defense. Micah Parsons had a couple of sacks. Mozzie Smith played well. But the way they tried to attack Butler very consistently, but I don't know why they tried to attack him consistently with Noah Brown. I don't know if that's the job I would have took. You know, if it was me, and I know Cliff Kingsbury doesn't like moving his receivers around. A part of the air raid offense, he wants his guy to line up on the same side of the field every time and kind of have all those people in the same position. And this way you dictate the way the defense covers you, and you can design plays based on dictating where the defense covers you. But the Commanders, for 3 quarters, did not do a good job of, even if they were able to dictate, executing, right? There were plenty of drop passes. But anyway, whenever they targeted Butler, he was awesome. He got his hands in there. He almost had an interception early in the game. Noah Brown had to basically become a defender in order to get the ball away from him. He had plenty of tackles. He was solid in the run game. He was solid in space. You know, that's the type of play that we need from our players, and he's definitely earned snaps. Even when Trayvon Diggs is healthy, you know, coming back, because I know he missed this game, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying Butler deserves snaps over Trayvon Diggs. Make sure you're hearing me correct, guys. But he does deserve more defensive snaps. You know, just like Wanye Thomas today, he played well. He deserves more defensive snaps. So as far as my star down, I'm going to give my star down to a specific play, not necessarily players. My biggest star down is all guys in the defensive secondary on that long touchdown by Terry McLaurin, because you got to have guys guarding the sideline, right? But you should also have guys on the inside ready to make the tackle. And the way that they overran that play, thinking that McLaurin was going to just try to go out of bounds, and he cuts it back up and in. I mean, the guy's a beast. Earlier in the game, he caught a pass on the sideline, right? And the defensive back kind of got his hands on him, but he had like a 9-yard gain. And the defensive back pushes him all the way back to the line of scrimmage. Instead of giving up on the play, McLaurin actually sheds that tackle, right? So he could have had a forward progress stop catch if he just goes down. But he sheds that tackle and tries to keep going and ends up getting stopped for no gain at the line of scrimmage. But that lets you know the mentality of the player, right? So when you're on that play and you know the Commanders are down, you have them, you have your foot on their neck, you know they're going to need to make a play. They don't have many timeouts. It's late in the game. You can't play McLaurin to just run out of the sideline. If you've watched McLaurin on tape, you know that man is going to try to get every single yard you can. He wants to be the monster. He wants to be the boogeyman. So the whole star down to the entire secondary for whatever they thought that was, because that wasn't defense. And also, I want to give a star down, my third star down. If I had to give it to one person, oh my goodness, it's pretty tough here. I guess I can't give it to person again. I'm going to give it to a unit. Star down to the special teams, I guess. But on the same token, I guess I can give an additional star up to Kevontae Turpin, because not only on that sick-ass move for the touchdown, I mean, it was incredible. It was fantastic, the move that he put on that little Madden juke spin move. It was awesome. The stuff of legend. I mean, that kick return will go down in history. That might be the one when he retires. That's going to definitely be in his highlight package. But between Brandon Arbley, allowing the blocks, not designing things to protect your kicker and punter, you know, it was a pretty mixed bag of results for the special teams today. But all in all, it ends in a win. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button. We're almost to 30. I'm trying to get to 50 so I can give some Cowboys stuff away. So please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at JMillerIYL. That's JMiller if you like. You can also hit me up at knockersonthebottom at outlook.com. Again, knockersonthebottom at outlook.com. You can hit me at knockersonthebottom at gmail.com. Leave comments below. Anything, questions that you have, anything specific that you want me to cover. I'll take them here. I'll take them there. I'll take them via Twitter. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Love you guys. Love that it's a Cowboys victory Sunday. Let's go. But until next time, I'm your host, J Mill if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.